Kaido is about to reveal his awakened form, something that Oda has been hiding from the reader for a long time. But many of you may be thinking right now, hold on, how do we know that is the case? Isn't it entirely possible that Kaido is already awakened? Isn't it entirely possible that Kaido has nothing left up his sleeve? Well, today I'm going to be explaining why that is almost certainly not the case, and why it is extremely likely that Kaido has not yet revealed his trump card, his awakening. But before we get into that, make sure to subscribe. And since we're all hoping for Kaido to show us something we haven't seen before, you can also try countless foreign TV shows and movies that you've never seen before with Surfshark VPN, the sponsor for this video. Surfshark is an award-winning VPN, and in case you don't know, VPNs allow you to virtually swap your location online to anywhere in the world, meaning that you can get access right now to free streaming in other countries that you are blocked from accessing in the United States. That means you could even get access to anime that is only available for free streaming in Japan, not to mention movies and shows from other countries. The best part is that Surfshark not only allows you to virtually travel, it also completely protects you while you surf the web. While you're using Surfshark, no one can get your information. No big companies, no cyber criminals, nothing. You are invisible because Surfshark encrypts your data and makes sure that nothing about your personal identity can be tracked. Even Surfshark itself doesn't monitor or track what you do online. And on top of that, it even protects you from ads and malware, so you're free to immediately get access to anime, movies, TV shows from anywhere on the globe the moment you switch Surfshark on, with your data absolutely secure, zero risk of being tracked, and zero ads. And for my viewers, you can use code MORGE to get 83% off Surfshark right now, plus 3 months completely free. You get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have zero risk trying it out. Link in the description below. So that aside, first of all, the number one reason many believe it is possible that Kaido is already awakened right now is because many readers believe that Kaido actually has a fish fruit that awakens to turn into a dragon. This theory began when Big Mom first revealed that Kaido's fruit is in fact a mythical fish fruit. And this plays perfectly into the legend of the koi fish that climbed up the waterfall and turned into a dragon. For those of you who don't know, there is a well-known Japanese legend of a koi fish that climbed up a waterfall, and through sheer willpower it made it to the top, at which point it transcended and transformed into a dragon. Sounds a lot like Devil Fruit awakening in a way, and the Wano arc even begins with Luffy traveling up the waterfall on the back of a koi fish, so Oda is clearly referencing that legend in this arc already. So when it was revealed that Kaido actually had a fish fruit, that suddenly gave a lot of credence to the idea that maybe the dragon form itself is the awakened form of the fruit, meaning that it's possible that normally Kaido would just have a normal fish fruit, but at some point in his journey to the top of the pirate world, he awakened his fruit and unlocked his dragon form. So that honestly sounds compelling, and I do think that is definitely possible. However, we have since gotten new information that makes this unlikely to be the case. We've learned that Kaido's fruit is not actually a fish fruit, it is just the fish model dragon, meaning that it is genuinely a dragon fruit. It's not fish model koi or anything. It's actually a straight up dragon fruit that just happens to fall under the broader labeling category of fish. It's the same way the giraffe fruit falls under the category of cow, or the wolf fruit falls under the category of dog. Those are just ways that zoan fruits are classified, but it doesn't change the fact that the actual title of the fruit is what you get. The giraffe fruit still turns you into a giraffe, the wolf fruit still turns you into a wolf, and a dragon fruit would be expected to turn you into a dragon. If I had to guess why Oda went out of his way to make Kaido's dragon fruit fall under the fish category, it would likely be, first of all, a reference to that koi myth, but second, and more importantly, it may play into why Kaido is impossible to kill, as most readers have wondered why the world government didn't just drown Kaido, the devil fruit user. That would make sense if his dragon fruit is technically a model of fish, meaning it would give a valid reason why Kaido could survive underwater the same way that Jack, a fishman, is able to survive underwater. Basically, it's not the first time Oda has given a character a fish connection to justify them being able to survive drowning. I think further support that Kaido is not in fact a koi fish that turned into a dragon, but rather the dragon fruit straight up turned him into a dragon from the start, is that we have an identical example to look at, which is Momonosuke. Kaido's fruit was literally cloned, and then Momonosuke ate that cloned fruit. And Momonosuke did not turn into a fish, he turned into a dragon. In fact, he turned into a carbon copy of Kaido's dragon form. I would say this strongly suggests that what we see right now with the dragon fruit is basically exactly what you get from eating the dragon fruit, and that Kaido has not yet revealed the awakened form. Now, you can always make the counter-argument that, hey, maybe Vegapunk found a way to clone Kaido's fruit with its awakened form already baked in, as like a preset or something, I don't know. And so when Momonosuke ate the fruit, he already got Kaido's awakened form from the start. And sure, that's a possibility, there's no way to really disprove that, but so far I think there's also nothing to really suggest that, so in my opinion, at the moment, the default assumption is just that the dragon fruit is a dragon fruit, and neither Kaido nor Momonosuke have shown its awakened form yet. Because going beyond that, we can also look at more subjective factors playing out over the course of the story that all seem to point to Kaido still having an awakening that Oda is saving. Since first of all, just the way that Kaido's designs have been treated so far are very strange. At the moment, we have 3 forms: his base form, his dragon form, and his hybrid form. Now, if Kaido is already awakened, then that would mean he has no form left up his sleeve, and we've basically seen his strongest form that he has spent most of the battle against Luffy fighting in. However, what's really strange is that if we look at how Oda has introduced each form of Kaido so far, well, first of all, we had his initial introduction of him in base form, which to date is arguably the most jaw-dropping and impactful character introduction in all of One Piece, with one of the most visually powerful spreads in the entire story, devoted to showcasing Kaido's design. Same thing with Kaido's dragon form. I'd say this reveal was definitely a worthy successor to his initial introduction. When this chapter was released, the entire One Piece fanbase was basically going crazy over how amazing this spread was and how powerful Kaido's Zoan form looked. And then we get to Kaido's hybrid form, which was a shockingly underwhelming reveal in terms of how it was presented, as a much less dramatic moment with a much more generic and less detailed spread. And this is something that you can actually go back and look at reactions to, both on YouTube comments, Reddit, Twitter, etc., where many people were underwhelmed by the hybrid form reveal in comparison to his base form and his pure Zoan form. Now, if this is also Kaido's awakened form, then this would be an especially strange choice, as that basically means that this was Kaido's quote-unquote final form to reveal, and it would basically mean that Oda put far less effort into making his final form, the form that Kaido spent the majority of his battle against Luffy in, compared to Kaido's previous forms, and Oda for some reason just slacked on making this final form reveal as dramatic. In fact, even Lucci's reveal of his hybrid form was far more dramatic, memorable, and detailed than Kaido's hybrid form, and Lucci is of course a far less significant villain than Kaido. To me, the rather offhand manner in which Oda showed us the hybrid form further suggests that Kaido's hybrid form is simply a placeholder for the moment, as the actual awakened form is where Oda will pull out all the stops. Going along with the sense that Oda didn't exactly make a big show of Kaido's hybrid design is the fact that so far, Oda has generally made a big deal out of characters showing off their awakenings, both with past villains like Doflamingo and Katakuri, and with the protagonists Law, Kid, and Luffy. Oda tends to make it very clear when characters are using their trump cards, their awakenings. That's because telling the reader when a character is using their trump card is just inherently more dramatic and makes the stakes of any given conflict much more clear. Since if you are leaving readers with a sort of guessing game of, okay, is Kaido using his awakening right now, it takes away from the sense of climax and conclusion to the battle. For example, if we knew for a fact that this was awakened Kaido right now, then we could actually feel confident that this clash is the finale of the battle, versus readers having to guess right now whether or not we should view this as the final round, or if Kaido has something more that we should expect after this. It would be kind of strange if Kaido is defeated and we find out after the fact later on that he was already in his awakened form, or if it's revealed in an SBS or something, or if we are never even told whether or not he was and we just have to headcanon assume that's the case, especially considering that there were clear opportunities where it could have been established that Kaido is using his awakening right now. Basically, if Kaido is already using his awakening, then there's pretty much no reason not to make that clear to the reader. Whereas on the other hand, you would generally only hide whether or not the villain is using their trump card if that trump card is in fact still being saved for a reveal, especially considering the strange progression of the fight so far. When Luffy and Kaido's one-on-one began, Luffy was in his base form and Kaido was in his hybrid form, and they were going about even for a long time. Then you had Luffy in Gear 4th and Kaido was still in his hybrid form, and they were again going even. And then you had Luffy in Gear 5th, and Kaido was still, surprisingly, in hybrid form. And again, they were fighting evenly. To me, this is pretty odd, because if this form has been Kaido's awakened form this entire time, then why have him start in that rather than have him transform into it at some point to match one of Luffy's power-ups. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the way Oda has done any of this. I have really enjoyed the battle so far. I'm just saying it's kind of strange if Oda has had Luffy go through all of these transformations and power-ups while simply having Kaido start out in his final form from the start. Traditionally, you would expect transformations or power-ups to sort of trade off, where at some point you would have the villain transform in response to one of the hero's power-ups. That's just a natural way to sort of up the ante and make things more dramatic for the finale of the fight that pretty much all mangaka use, including Oda himself throughout the series. Which is why I think it's very possible that Oda is ultimately still saving Kaido's awakened form in response to Gear 5th Luffy, after Kaido loses this current clash to Gear 5th Luffy. Essentially, I think it would make sense if Kaido was able to keep up with Base Luffy and Gear 4th Luffy, but ultimately will be unable to match Gear 5th Luffy, and will then awaken in response, and the fight will conclude from there. I personally think that would make more sense than Oda having Kaido start out already in his final awakened form, and then having Luffy go through 3 power-ups without simply saving a transformation for Kaido somewhere along the way. Now, that entire last point is of course extremely speculative. It's just something that all mangaka tend to do that, in my opinion, is effective in making fights dramatic, and again, Oda himself regularly does this with villains throughout the series. Lucci's hybrid form is saved for a response to Luffy's Gear 2nd. Doflamingo and Katakuri's awakenings are saved as a response to Luffy's Gear 4th. That's just natural shonen stuff. And finally, we have something particularly interesting, which is that there is a mysterious final attack that many of us expect Kaido to use that he has not used yet. What do I mean by that? Well, this is common information. This is not something that I guessed at myself. I'm not good at this kind of real-world mythology stuff, but apparently, Kaido's attacks are named after the Wisdom Kings, the Wisdom King of the North, South, East, and West. But while Kaido has shown attacks named after each of these 4 Wisdom Kings, there is a 5th Wisdom King that Kaido has not yet invoked, the most significant of the 5, Akala, the Center. Even now, in this supposed final clash against Luffy, Kaido is not using an attack named after the 5th Wisdom King. Perhaps that is an attack that will only be unveiled in his awakened form. And as you all know, I do expect Kaido's awakening to come at the end of his flashback, though of course whether or not we get his flashback or not, we will find out over the course of the next few chapters. So let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with Kaido getting an awakening, and if you enjoyed this video, then definitely like, comment, and subscribe.